Counterfiction by Tim Aldrich. Dear Mr. Aldrich, thank you for the submission of your short story Led by Donkeys to Counterfiction magazine. I can speak not only as editor of our august periodical, but for each of the judging panel in welcoming the appearance of your unique voice to the world of counterfactual speculative fiction. There was much debate, and one might even say passion, around the table as we discussed your work. So engaged, indeed, were the judges that they have shared some detailed feedback, which I copy below. I would start, however, by thanking you for not setting your story within one of the now very tired scenarios, such as John F. Kennedy surviving his trip to Dallas in 1963, the success of Hitler and Nazi Germany against the Allies after 1944, and, curiously, had the People's Princess not taken that ill-fated journey to Paris. In contrast, your tale felt fresh, imaginative, and very contemporary. The absence of airships alone made my day. However, we have some changes that we suggest you consider. 1. Your pivot point, after which history changes. It is a bold choice to take an esteemed and successful politician as your narrator and reimagine them as a tragic failure and, we really like this device, a podcaster. Your narrative voice is strong and recognisable. We love the use of his well-known catchphrases, "I say unto you," and "I do say now." We just didn't buy the point at which you pivot on history. Everyone enjoys a good bit of the hinge factor now and then, but seriously, the inept eating of a bacon sandwich? Our panel just couldn't swallow it. We wonder whether it might be stronger instead if Lord Miliband has an affair with one of his special advisors, or is inadvertently linked with the Blair North Korea bribery scandal. 2. Following directly from 1, and we see what you've done here, taking a fairly obscure and marginalised politician like Jeremy Corbyn and thrusting him centre stage as leader of the Labour Party. One of our judging panel is a long-standing professor of political science, and she confirmed what we all felt, in that it stretches credulity too far. As you'll no doubt have read in our letters section on more than one occasion, it is a fine line between the plausible and the implausible, but this is the point at which willing suspension of disbelief becomes a shake of the head. Given that there are few, if any, Labour politicians less likely than Corbyn to succeed, could you perhaps consider another? Chuka Umunna comes to mind. Just a thought. 3. Referring to my point about Princess Diana above, and gosh, isn't she still a popular topic? The Meghan Markle-Prince Harry subplot is a bit twee, no? You've given the new princess a nice name and an intriguing backstory, but perhaps a real person would be stronger. Alternative suggestions from the panel included Chelsea Clinton, Kourtney Kardashian, and Chloe from Geordie Shore. One panellist wondered if you might not have left this as history intended, as it were, and instead given the bisexual theme more prominence. 4. The US references. While you clearly intended the mention of President Donald Trump as an offhand gag, we thought this distracted from some of the more fascinating ideas you were exploring around the so-called special relationship. And to be honest, we couldn't quite make the leap from the Lord Miliband and the bacon sandwich incident to Jeb Bush losing the Republican Party primary. Can you perhaps remove? This may also tackle the word count issue. 2,000 words is, after all, our maximum limit, and not a vague aspiration, however much you might wish it to be. 5. Your denouement. You clearly have a dim view of our political class. Theresa May's character seems colourless, one-dimensional, and, well, frankly at times just nasty. As our political scientist colleague adroitly noted, wasn't this the woman who took on and challenged the Tories to address their reputation as the nasty party? Go back to your recent history, young man. Moreover, the depiction of her as the, what did you call her? Maybot. Seems a bit flat. Just a thought, but how about giving her some love interest? I can see her discovering untold passions with her counterpart, the dashing Michelle Barnier, Or possibly the speaker, John Bercow. Before you shake your head, don't forget the precedent of John Major and Edwina Curry. 6. As for the referendum idea, it is one we have seen before. It was popular among a certain class of writer with, shall we say, strong fantasies back in the 1990s, though we have no issue with this. However, the subsequent descent into farce, laced with horror presented in your description of Britain approaching the exit from the EU, takes the reader beyond counterfactual fiction and firmly into the realms of tragi-comic fantasy. It beggars belief that any government would A. fail to plan almost at all for departure, and B. cycle your Chris Grayling character through so many successive failures. Though personally, I loved The Ferry Company with No Ferries, very Lewis Carroll. We'd suggest, therefore, that you inject more realism here and tone down some of the more lurid stuff, like stockpiling of medicines, the forced introduction of chlorinated chicken, and the annihilation of the automotive sector. 7. Regarding the multiple votes on her deal, our constitutional expert is adamant that May wouldn't be able to bring the vote back once, let alone 3 times, so please scratch that. Something dating back to the early 17th century, apparently. 8. Finally, Jacob Rees-Mogg. He's an obscure and harmless, if eccentric, old cove that I knew at university. Why does he feature so prominently here? Do you hold a grudge? It looks a bit shabby, so again, we'd suggest you revise. In summary then, we would love to print your submission, subject to the changes proposed above. Please also provide a short biography of no more than 100 words to accompany your story, ideally with a recent photograph. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Yours sincerely, I.G. Fawcett, Editor, Counterfiction magazine. Oh, P.S. One last thing. We'll be hosting a 25th anniversary reception at the Dorchester on the 15th of May to launch this edition. I'm sure you'll make every effort to attend. Please do RSVP before the 20th. We're rather excited to be expecting Sir Boris to say a few words. His recent Nobel Prize has given him quite the taste for being a literary lion. And it's a rare privilege to get the President of the European Council.